stand tall, I don't tuck my tail. Swear I'm hard as nails. Oh, they judge because my skin is pale. Like I ain't working scale. Bro, I'm raw just like the work. Used to numb the pain with perks. I was popping shit like candy, now I pop off in a verse. See my brothers turn.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now today, honestly, I don't have any idea what I want to talk about in terms of writing things down for topics, subjects to hit, facts to use. I don't know. Like usually I come on here with a relatively understanding of a topic I want to talk about, how I want to phrase the topic, frame the topic, make it articulate for you guys to resonate or take some type of feedback, honestly, from it. Because I really try to create a topic, why, and then talk about why I want to talk about that topic. But then I always try to have a flow to it a little bit for you guys to have consistency in terms of the podcast episodes and understanding what to expect. I always try to make sure that you guys can take something away from it, from the way I'm phrasing it. Because it's very easy to get on here, go on tangents that I'm opinionated on or I'm biased on, things like that. But the biggest thing that I want to do today with today's podcast is just honestly speak from the heart. I have nothing planned besides the topic of self-worth. And I almost wanted to create this into an episode of, self-worth, create a topic and a framework of how I could give you guys value on how to create more self-worth in your life, But to be honest, what I mean about speaking from the heart is I feel like the blessing about my job is, and this isn't even a job to me, right? And this is crazy, it is my job. But I feel like the blessing for me is I get to speak to my audience, my clients, my people from the heart all the time. And I feel like that's a huge misconception with some people online that run businesses that they they have a persona they play, they have a character they play. And to a degree there's so many benefits of that because it's easy to market, it's easy to not having any emotional ties into it. And from a business sense with no black or white, in a picture perfect world, it's a lot better to be that type of person. However, with me, I'm more of an anomaly where I lead by example with my emotions. I lead by example with how I'm feeling. And, episodes like today where I straight up just talk about from the heart, about self-worth. And so this is more so a little bit of an update for any of my audience that truly, I guess, gives a fuck about me, I guess. Not in a bad way, but it's it's cut and dry, black or white. Some people want coaching for access to nutrition and workout protocols, and that's it. But I feel like that's the blessing of my job, and why I say I'm an anomaly is because the people that I work with, we're all very close. We're very close, a very close-knit group in terms of community, in terms of camaraderie and just overall understanding, right? Because at the end of the day, the biggest thing with community is acceptance, and we're all accepted to some degree in our life, right? And that's actually a huge transition organically, because again, I'm just speaking from the top of my head, right? Speaking out my window from my heart, is, self-acceptance is one of the biggest things with self-worth that I'm going through right now. So for people that have been here for a long time, I'm a bit opinionated on therapy and how you use therapy. I'm a big believer that therapy is beneficial when it's used properly. Now, I believe that a lot of therapy, 90% of it, and psychiatrists and all these things that give you pills and prescribe you, just hold wounds where they're at. They just hold trauma, they hold wounds, they hold energy where they just got to be because they just make you be aware of it. That is it. And to me, therapy with that is bullshit. I think if you have therapy and you're going to just manage a problem in some regard, I think it's complete horseshit. I think you should go to a therapy to talk about specific traumas to unveil the severity of the depths of what has happened, and then understanding yourself from a perspective to heal. That is the point of therapy, in my opinion. Not to just go and hold a pulse check. It's bullshit because you deserve a life. You deserve more than that. And that's what it comes into. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to therapy, but I'm going to a mentor. It is a mentor. It's a mentor that is more therapeutic because I'm doing an emotional intelligence quiz. I've dived deep into emotional intelligence my entire career, my life. That's why I'm big into mindset, mental health, is because the science behind how powerful our mindsets are is astonishing. It's absolutely fucking crazy. So when it comes to self-acceptance, therapy, and all these different things to help with our mindset, I take it very serious. That's why I'm very biased and actually changed my opinion in the last 5 years from going straight saying fuck therapy to finding someone that's helping you with something specific, So this example here, this mentor in a therapeutic way is my therapist because I'm specifically working on avenues of my mental health that I'm embracing to learn to gain something from. I'm not just talking about these things to understand them and then put salt in the wound once a week, twice a month, whatever it is. I'm embracing these. I've already had multiple breakdowns on these because I'm trying to get to the other side of what I deserve through these emotions. And that's what a therapist should do for you and help you with. So what I'm going through, self-worth, is, I have very low self-worth and low self-regard. And it's very crazy to understand or say it from that perspective, from how successful I am and how positive I am as a person. And, lately I've been going through a huge realm of like self-acceptance and what is my self-worth. And this is what I mean about being an anomaly. I love what I do as my job. My business is my life. My clients are my life. And I fucking love it. Like this podcast, like I said at the beginning of this episode, feels like it's technically my job. But I even hate saying it's my job because I just love it so fucking much. So with me, I identify my success, my personal success, my self-worth through my business. And on one side of the coin, this is the biggest blessing in the world because my business is very successful. It's gaining more traction every single day. It's getting more. It's just, I can't believe it, but I can believe it because I put in the fucking work for it. And the biggest thing with it is like all of my self-worth over the last 3 to 5 years of building this business has been dumped into my business. So if how my business performs that day, that week, that month, that dictates how my self-worth is. And like I said, on one side of the coin, being an anomaly, I love it because I love what I do. But on the other side of the coin, when I want to be the best version of myself for me, the best man for Emma, the best boyfriend, husband to Emma, the best, father to my kids when I have kids, I can't be holding my self-worth through these same avenues, and it's been so hard to not identify my self-worth through the success of my business and the success of my clients and all these different things because I hold it to such high standards and I hold it so close to my fucking heart. And the biggest thing with that too is like, the reason why I'm highlighting it is because it's like the biggest thing of what I've learned about this whole self-worth journey is like, we are the creators of everything. I can identify my self-worth through a false level of security in terms of my business success. I can give myself false security in my relationship through my business. I can create whatever I want through this negative aura or negative condition that I've received as growing up and going through what I've been through to false hold myself in a position that makes me feel like I'm worthy. But reality is, when you look in the mirror, when you're completely by yourself and you're just there by yourself, like naked and afraid, if you want to say it that way, that is where your self-worth is, when you have nothing but you and yourself and your mind and your body. That is where the self-worth is. And, the other thing that comes with this is I've learned, again, remember guys, I don't have any fucking ideology of how I'm saying this to you guys. So you guys could be just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And this is what I mean about why it's important to have a little bit of a structure of a podcast. But again, I want to talk to you guys through the heart of what I've been going through and a little bit of a life update, because I feel like there's so much value in that when, again, I hate saying it this way because I'm not arrogant. I'm just working on my self-value and my confidence. But a lot of people put me on a pedestal of how I hold my life and how much work I do and how much benefit I give them for the physical, like all these different avenues, right? And like, I'm very grateful for it and I love it. And it's like when I share things like this, like that I'm struggling right now as we're talking, I've cried this morning. I cried on Wednesday. I had a bad breakdown on Monday. Friday, actually, we did too, because I was like just all over the place. And it's because I'm battling for what the true source, the true vision, the true clarity of what is my self-worth when it's just me, myself, and I, my body, my mental health, my emotional state, just me, and when you're there and you're actually, and I mean that, actually embracing the side of yourself, you're going to be confronted with, and it's even hard for me to say, you're going to be confronted with some things that, going back to self-acceptance, that you may have to accept. And this isn't from a standpoint of, oh, these are actions that I've done that I need to hold myself accountable for. Like, and to a certain degree, obviously, in certain conversations and times I lashed out and maybe was an asshole to some people, my friends, family. But like the biggest thing is that, self-acceptance of what your life looks like, and I'm not going, again, like I'm saying, I'm speaking this all off the top of my head, so it's very transparent. I don't have nothing written down. It's me staring out the window. I got my bottle of water in my desk. It would hang with you guys right now, but I had to accept, and I have still to accept the extent of what my life was. Growing up in and out of foster care, growing up as a white baby in a black neighborhood, being abused because I was white and reverse racism and shit. I have to accept the fact of moving out at 17, being in a car accident at 16, battling addictions at 21 to 23. Like, I have to accept all these things, right? I gotta accept the surgeries I've had for the car accidents. I gotta accept the surgeries I had from breaking my hand. I had to accept the traumas from taking steroids and fucking up in the gym and, doing things dumb. Like, I just got to accept all these things, right? I got to accept some verbal abuse to the people around me based on, me lashing out when I was, coming off of things and like, figuring my life out, like all these different times. And it's not about like, from a negative standpoint, it's not about anything negative and malicious, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that like when you go to your self-worth and your self-value, it's like you feel like you got to reprimand yourself, or you feel reprimand or feel shame or guilt for these things. And, like the biggest thing I learned, again, speaking from the heart, is like, it's taking ownership over everything that we're talking about, but it's not to take it personal. You know what I mean? Like I can't personally be too invested in a lot of these avenues, right? I just got to take ownership over them, and it is what it is, And I think that's the biggest thing, because when it comes back to self-acceptance, I think self-acceptance is a huge transcendence into self-worth, because you can't find yourself worthy of everything, you can't find yourself worthy, of anything you haven't accepted, because what you have not accepted isn't really there yet. That's when we talk about building that false reality on false levels of life, right? False perspectives, giving you that sense of false validation, right? Like if that's what I mean, like when you're naked and afraid, you're by yourself, just you, yourself, your thoughts, your body, that's who you are. And that's where your self-worth comes from. And I think self-acceptance, like I said, is a huge transcendence into self-worth, because me looking at my past, right? I was so hard on myself, right? So hard on myself. So I'm just so disgustingly hard on the way that I hold those times in my life, right? Like I'm shaming myself, ridiculing myself. I'm telling myself I should have did this, that. And I'm taking that energy into my day to be like, you got to have this higher standard because you're a piece of shit because of this time. And it's like, I just got to accept that those times were what they were. And then when you accept them and go back, and then you allow yourself to get into more of self-value, you'll realize that there's a reason most of the time why you acted out or did certain things, right? And like, that's what I mean now. Like my self-value and self-worth is getting better each and every day. And now it's just like accepting what I've been through and creating self-worth through understanding what I've been through, why I operate the way I do, and, understanding what I can change and what I can't change and where my control lies, because I do have to accept to a certain degree, right? Like that my family operate the way they do. And, I never had like, stupid little things. And I don't even want to use the verbiage stupid, because it's not stupid, because it's like, there's always going to be that little boy in me that wants my mom and dad to, run at me and pick me up and be like, want to know what, son, I got you. Here's this, that, right? And it's just never going to happen, right? Like, same, I don't know my father. He's never going to come out of nowhere. I shouldn't say never, right? This is what I mean. Like, I'm being very fucking vulnerable with you guys right now. I'm being straight up honest. Like, they could change. All of this could change. This is exactly where I'm at as of Sunday, December 10th, giving you guys a podcast episode that's releasing the day before, is just understanding and taking ownership and, finding my self-worth in all these things, right? Because the biggest thing I learned about my self-worth is that, like, I found myself worthy of the things I was partaking in. And a lot of that was a negativity. So it's like, as you're self-healing, you start to take ownership. So you're like, some situations, you get caught up in this pattern of like, well, I mean, if this situation is what it is, and, there's no other reason why it's there, then it must be my fault, or I must be the reason why this was like that, and, to make a black or white example, like I have no influence as to why my dad was around that. I have not an ounce of influence as to how my mom operated her life, or the decisions that she's made her entire life up until today. Same with my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, any of these people, my friends and family members, all of these people. Like I can't, nothing of when I was a child influenced any of these things. So, there's accepting that and finding your self-worth and removing those ideologies, which is where I'm at currently, is removing some of these ideologies that it is my fault and I am the reason why these things have happened. Man, I'm not the reason my dad wasn't around. Fuck, that has nothing to do with me. But still, like going back to taking ownership versus being personal, right? Like I can take ownership over that, not take it personal. Taking it personal is where I start to self-sabotage, shame myself, ridicule myself, and blame myself. Taking ownership of not having a father is self-acceptance, understanding the emotions. They still fucking suck. Like it still sucks. It fucking sucks. It sucks. It does, And I feel like that's where my self-worth comes from. Like I found myself worthy enough to own those emotions without giving myself the shame and ridicule, right? And that's actually something I've learned, honestly, within the last 2-3 weeks, is that exact saying I just said to you, right? And I feel like that's a good way to end the podcast after a 14-minute, I guess, rant with no fucking subject, rhyme, or reason as to how I was going to flow it. But I just really want to give you guys like what I'm going through, right? And I feel like the big thing with like this whole fitness, you go to the gym to look better in the mirror, and you set up boundaries, you look better for, like, to feel better for yourself, your people around you, and all of it is like, you just hope that it comes to you one day. You just hope, you have faith, and then that's when you get into a whole other conversation and shit about what it is that you value with your life, like whether you believe in God or believe in frequencies or believe in algorithms or you believe in we're Sims, you know, we're all puppets. But whatever you believe, it's like that's the biggest thing, right? We're all on the same fucking road. We're trying to become the best versions of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, every avenue of our life. We're trying to become the absolute best. And that's what makes it so beautiful, is that, like, you know, I can be here helping so many people inspire their lives, change their lives in so many different avenues and facets, but I'm sitting here struggling with the same thing that everyone else is, right? Self-worth, self-value, and self-love, self-compassion. You know, we're all in this together, and that's the beauty of this nature, and this nurture of this beast, right? Or this nature of this beast, if you will. But anyways, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in today's episode. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a rant, but I really had fun just kind of talking and sharing. I feel like I just gave you guys a piece of me. Just took a little piece of my heart, gave it to you guys. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that's going to change in my business over the next little bit. And I don't even want to say business, but my movement. You know, it was like I built up an incredible amount of community, an incredible business, an incredible clientele, an incredible community and camaraderie and people around me. Now it's time to really show you guys what's going on and what we're going to do with all the energy. Because if I can do it, you can fucking do it too. Let's go.
I stand tall, I don't tuck my tail.